Hey everyone, it's Tara. Welcome to my channel. So today I'm going to be doing my top 20 romance reads. I compiled a list of my favorite romance books. It does not include historical romances because I will be doing a separate video with those. I did also want to mention that I did not duplicate authors. I looked at their books and only chose one of my favorites. So if you've heard that I really enjoyed this book, but it didn't make it to this list, that is probably why. Coming in at number 20 is Red, White, and Royal Blue by Casey McQuiston. This one is a male-male romance, and this one is about, it's like the Prince of England and then the son of the American president, and they kind of like get off on the wrong foot and they don't really like each other, or at least that's what it seems publicly. And so they kind of have to like work together to show the media that they are friends and they are getting along, at least show like the public eye that they are, and then they end up falling in love. It's a really sweet romance. Coming in at number 19 is Well Met by Jen DeLuca. So this one is actually set in a Renaissance fair. The main character comes and she is helping her sister who's been in like an accident, and she has like a teenage niece. And so her sister was supposed to help out at the Renaissance fair, but no longer can. So she steps up and helps her niece out. And it is the romance between her and like the Renaissance fair organizer. He does it every year. He's also a teacher of her niece, and they kind of get off on, again, the wrong foot. It's kind of hate to love. And when they're in their like costumes for the Renaissance fair, he starts flirting with her and she's like, well, is it his character or is this real? So I thought it was really cute. I enjoyed the Renaissance fair aspect. It was a good one. Definitely check this one out. Coming in at 18 is Forget Me Not by QB Tyler. This one is an amnesia romance, and it is kind of like a second chance because the couple in this have actually been married and they are separated, actually going through like a divorce. But the male main character has an accident and gets amnesia, and he doesn't remember that they're going through this. There is cheating in this one, but it's prior to the book, and it's about the married couple and deciding whether or not they're going to come back together, because he still believes that they are, and that's based off his amnesia. So he's kind of learning like, okay, we're not together. Why are we not? What's happened? What am I missing? So I thought this was definitely a unique one, and I did enjoy it. Number 17, I have a physical copy of, and that's The Royals Next Door by Karina Halle. I really enjoyed this one. In this one, the royals move in next door next to Piper, and she ends up getting off on the wrong foot with the bodyguard, and he is like trying to get her ID, and she's trying to go into her house because it's like the road that they live on. It's only them two, and so it kind of comes off as like a misunderstanding. He thinks she's trying to like get pictures or get information about them, but she literally just lives next door to them. And so it's their romance. I thought this was really cute. It does have excellent mental health representation and definitely a cute romance read. Coming in at number 16 is A Reborn Yesterday, and this one's by Tessa Bailey. This is more like paranormal. Jenny is about to like embalm Jonas, and then he ends up waking up on her table, and she's like, what is happening? And he ends up, he's a vampire, and it's their love story. I did really enjoy this one. I thought it was adorable. I love the paranormal aspect to it. And at number 15 is an Audible original, and that one is The Comeback by Lily Chu. This one I listened to on audio, and I just loved it. It was so like almost like a quiet love story. It is about Ariadne, who is a lawyer, and she's trying to work her way up in her firm and become a partner. And then it's about Ji-hoon, who ends up coming to America from Korea and crashing at their apartment. She actually shares the apartment with her friend, and that friend is Ji-hoon's cousin. And so they kind of strike a friendship and realize that there's like an attraction there, but Ji-hoon is kind of keeping a secret. But they're like not sure that they can make it work because he lives in Korea and she is in America, or excuse me, Canada. And so like they're trying to decide this blossoming relationship. Is it going to work? Jihoon is definitely a cinnamon roll hero. He is very sweet to Ariadne, and he really is like always on her side and trying to support her. And I like the aspect of like the K-pop band, which plays a role into this as well. I really enjoyed that book. It was a lot of fun to listen to. Coming in at number 14 is another Audible original, and that one is Seatmate by Cara Bastone. This one is another like fade to black, and it's a romantic comedy. The two main characters meet on a bus. They are going, I can't remember if it's like Boston to New York City. And so they like strike up a conversation because they're sitting next to each other, and they realize that there's like this attraction throughout, and they're trying to get the female heroine back to New York as quick as possible because she has to get there, and like things happen, and it's very sweet. I also enjoyed that this was like a graphic audio, so you got to hear like the noises of the train and the people and the hustle and bustle. So I thought that was really fun aspect to the audiobook as well. Coming in at number 13 is Go Hex Yourself, and this one is by Jessica Clare. This one is a fun witchy read. So Reggie goes and like answers an ad to be a familiar for a witch, and she actually thinks it's like a game, kind of like similar to like what like a Dungeons and Dragon would be. It's something like that within the book, a card game that she plays. And so she thinks she's going to be an assistant to somebody who works for that game, but she's actually a familiar for, becomes a familiar for a witch. And that witch has a nephew, and of course he's like against her coming because she doesn't even know anything about the witch world, and kind of like thrust upon her. But I really enjoyed this one. They kind of have to team up and work together to figure out this little mystery of like what happened with a spell. And so I thought it was really cute, and I liked their like banter back and forth, and I really enjoyed like there's something with like a magic ball, and like you can see into it, and it's a really fun scene. Coming in at number 12 is Float Plan by Trish Dollar. This is more of a serious romance, and like kind of like a quiet romance. Both of the main characters are dealing with loss, and one is like loss of a loved one, and the other one is loss of something else, and it plays a big part, or plays a part into the book. And so anyways, the main female character, what is her name? Anna is going on a boat ride that she was supposed to do with her fiance, but he passed away and they no longer can. So she's trying to do it herself. And she soon realizes that she can't do that. She's not equipped to do it on her own. So she hires someone to help. And that's kind of like they go on this trip together, and they like quietly fall in love, and it's kind of love after loss. I did really enjoy this one. I thought it was sweet, and definitely more of a quiet romance. And I will say there are trigger warnings in this one, so if there are things that affect you, I would definitely look into that on like Goodreads. You'll be able to find it there. Coming in at number 11 is From Lukov with Love by Mariana Zapata. I really enjoyed this one. This was my first read by her. Lukov is in need of a partner for his ice skating. They both ice skate, and he needs a partner for the team, and he can't keep one. So he tries and he recruits her, but they've never really got along. They've kind of like known each other since kids, and they've grown up kind of like not liking each other. It's like the heroine's last chance. After this, she's kind of like leaving ice skating or retiring from it. And so this is kind of like her final shot. And so she is teaming up with him, and they have to kind of work together. So there's that, that forced proximity, and there is definitely some good banter because it's like a hate to love. I definitely enjoy good banter in hate to love. So definitely check that one out. It is a bit longer, but it is so good. I really enjoyed the ice skating aspect to it. Now we're on to our top 10. So coming in at number 10 is If the Shoe Fits by Julie Murphy. This one is kind of like a Cinderella twist on things. The main character is like kind of going back home, and she is going like to like her stepmom and stepsisters. However, they have a really good relationship, and I really enjoyed that aspect. But she's going on like a reality TV show that her stepmom produces, and she designs shoes, so she's kind of like showing off on the show. So that's kind of why she goes on. But she ends up meeting the Bachelor, because it's like Bachelor-esque, but the main male character, and they end up like falling in love on the show, which is its own challenge in itself because there's all these other people, there's always cameras around. So I thought this was like a unique romance. I definitely enjoyed it. Coming in at number 9 is Crow by Zavarelli. This one is a mafia romance, and this one is like with the Irish mafia, and the heroine has to like go to where I think he owns like a bar or some sort of club or something where her friend used to work out, and her friend has gone missing, and she thinks they have something to do with it. So she goes and she applies for a position there, and she gets hired on, and obviously he took notice of her, and it's kind of their story from there. Obviously she's hiding that she's actually looking for her friend, and the story kind of goes from there. I did really enjoy this one. It's definitely a dark mafia romance. It has like some steamy times in it as well. Coming in at number 8 is 'Tis the Season for Revenge by Morgan Elizabeth. I read this one last year during Christmas time, and I really enjoyed it. It has like a revenge plot, and she ends up getting dumped on Halloween because he thinks she's just too immature for him. It's got some Legally Blonde aspects to it. So I think she ends up dressing up as like a bunny for Halloween to go to his work Halloween party. And so he's like, she's too immature for me, and dumps him after years of her supporting him and helping him. And so anyways, she ends up calling, her friends over, and they get this, idea in their heads that they're going to do little things to get back at him. And one of the things is she ends up matching with his boss, who he hates, and it's their romance. In the beginning, it is not serious, and they both are under the understanding that it's not a serious relationship. And so she goes along with it, and he doesn't know that she knows like his employee. And so from there, and she's definitely more conflicted as time goes on, because she realized she does really start to like him, and it goes from there. I did really enjoy this one. I ended up giving it a 5-star. I absolutely loved it. Coming in at number 7 is The Kiss Quotient by Helen Huang. This one I read quite a bit ago, but I remember absolutely loving it. This one is about Stella, and Stella has autism, and she's not so sure like how to date or how to be intimate with somebody. And so like she hires a male escort to figure that out, because her parents are kind of pushing her to like, she's older, she's I think in her 30s, and she's like, or either late 20s or early 30s, and so they're like, you should start dating. And kind of goes from there. Michael is definitely a sweet character. There are some steamy scenes in this one. Definitely really enjoyable. Coming in at number 6 is Get a Life, Chloe Brown by Talia Hibbert. This was a hard choice because I did love the Brown Sisters trilogy, but I think Chloe just took it for me. I really enjoyed her growth throughout the book, because she ends up having like just like a minor accident, but like her life flashes before her eyes, and she's like, well, there's nothing in it. And so it sets off change in her, and she ends up like leaving her parents' house, moving out, and like embarking on things on her own. And to help her, she creates a list, and the super in her like new apartment complex ends up helping her with that list. And it's definitely a sweet romance. I did enjoy it. There is discussion of chronic illness, so that representation is in there as well. I really enjoyed this one. This was probably my favorite of the Brown sisters, which I feel like I'm in the minority of, because a lot of people like to take a hint Danny Round, but I have to go with Get a Life, Chloe Brown. Now we are going into my top 5. And so coming in at number 5 is One True Loves by Taylor Jenkins Reid. This one is quiet, and it is also sad romance because of the topics it deals with. So Emma ends up moving back to her town after her husband has died or has been presumed dead. He was in like a helicopter crash, and she was living with him out in the city, and they were like beginning their life together, and then he ends up dying. And so she moves back to her small town, ends up working in the store, like I think it's like a bookstore that her parents own, and she ends up taking over it, and she ends up slowly meeting somebody else. And it's kind of like their love story too. But then she gets a call one day that her husband is alive. And so it goes between her finding out this news that her husband has died, and then her starting a new relationship, and then figuring out after all this time that he is actually alive and he wants to see her, obviously. And so she has to decide, is she going to keep the relationship she has now, or is she going to go back to her husband now that she knows that he's alive? So it is definitely a hard choice for her. So I definitely enjoyed this one. I would check it out. So coming in at number 4 is one I read last year, and that's Real by Kennedy Ryan. This was my first Kennedy Ryan, and I absolutely loved it. I mean, it made it into my top 5, and it's actually the only one that I've read recently that's made it in there. But I just loved the adult conversations in this book. And this one's about Eva, and she is an actress, and she's not a well-known actress, but she ends up being put in like getting cast in a film that is by a really popular director, and it's about the relationship between her and the director. And they don't really want anybody to know because obviously she's up and coming. She doesn't want that to think that she got this part for the wrong reasons. And so they kind of keep it on the quiet, on the down low, and like it's definitely a beautiful adult depiction of the relationship. I did enjoy the chronic illness representation, enjoyed that aspect of it. Coming in at number 3 is Kiss My Cupcake by Helena Hunting. And this one is a hate to love. This one is about 2 store owners who are having like grand openings right next to each other on like the same night. So obviously it gets off on the wrong foot because both of them want to have great grand openings and, you know, do well, because one is reopening the business and the other one is opening a brand new business. So one is like having a grand opening, one is having a grand reopening. And I just loved the banter in this. I loved the cupcake aspect of it. This was just so much fun to read. So if you love hate to love romances, I definitely think you should try this one. Coming in at number 2 is Love and Other Words by Christina Lauren. I had a bunch of Christina Lauren that I had to decide upon because I do enjoy a lot of their books, but I could only choose one. And this one is just the one that stuck out in my mind the most and has stuck with me. This one is about Macy and Elliot, and Macy's mom has passed away, and so her dad buys a house outside the city, like a vacation home for them to spend some time in together. And she ends up meeting Elliot there as like, I think they were probably preteens, and then it goes into teenagers. And so they build this like friendship, and then that leads into a relationship when they become teenagers. And something happens and they fall apart. Like they don't talk to each other. The relationship ends and they like never speak to each other. But then Elliot sees her one day, I think in a coffee shop, and they kind of start talking again. The thing is though, Macy is engaged to somebody else, but it does still have those feelings for Elliot. So I just liked how it went back and forth between the two when they were younger to when they were older, and they're like they're starting their friendship back up again. There is definitely some trigger warnings for death of a loved one, and I definitely think that like choices as teenagers were made in here that, you know, had effects on them. And anyways, I just really loved this one, and it's one that's stuck with me. And coming in at number 1 is The Hating Game by Sally Thorne. I absolutely love this one. This was my first like go around with hate to love books, and it made me realize just how much I love them. And so this is why it earns the top spot. It definitely has excellent banter. It has some steamy scenes. It definitely has like a hero who can like banter but is also sweet. So I definitely enjoyed this one, and it is my favorite. So anyways, this one is about Lucy and Joshua, and they both are like assistants to like a co-owned business. And so it's the owners team up together and like they have a business, and then they both have assistants, but now they're vying for the same job. And so it kind of puts them head to head, and Lucy just thinks Josh has always hated her. And so like, but he definitely just likes pushing her buttons. And so I definitely love this one. If you have not read this one, you definitely should. It is, like I said, it is my favorite, and I just have so many good memories with it. I need to reread it because I read it many years ago when I was just starting to find BookTube, and it probably is so high because it is also connected with that memory, but I just loved it. So those were all my top 20 romances. Let me know what your favorite romance is in the comments below. Like and subscribe if you would like to. Bye!